of the federal courthouse, but tomorrow and every day after that, I put my hope and my faith in the people of the city of Detroit. And it is on us to ensure that we bring that water pressure, enough pressure to demand, to enforce the protection of our neighbors and our families and our friends from this destructive water shutoff program. And so what we're doing here today does not end today. It continues with an escalating campaign of protest, of rallying, and even of direct action to ensure that our friends and our families and the people that we care about have access to that most essential piece of life, which is water. And so after today, we hope that the judge will do the right thing and stop the water shutoffs, but we are prepared to take our own action to stop these shutoffs, just as we have in the past, and to ensure the protection of our people. I now want to pass off the mic to a man who himself can speak about the effects of this water shutoff program in his community, Pastor Ray Anderson of the House of Help in Detroit. Pastor Ray.
Thank you, Justin. Brother Baxter, you really touched my heart. You really moved, and you spoke for the masses. And I concur with you. It's sad that we stand here in Detroit, Michigan, and in America, that men would govern and says who has the right to have water. Something that is not owned by man, but that was given to us. That was so important even to God's people, where he had one of his leaders, Moses, speak to a rock. And he supplied water for his people freely. And I didn't know what I was going to say today. It's ironic that a year ago, Georgetown Law School came to our community center in Detroit. And they came here with law students and asked could they interview people that we service in our community on the northwest side of Detroit. And you would think on the northwest side of Detroit, where it used to be upper middle class, working, hard-working people, now we have people that have to make choices whether or not to rob Peter to pay Paul, whether or not they're going to buy. We have senior citizens that are on fixed income that have to make a choice whether to buy medication or to pay their water bill.
That's right.
Whether the risk losing their homes because the water bills are connected to their housing.
Right.
And I've heard interviews saying, well, some people can afford to pay their bills where they have cable. Well, I beg to differ. We service a community and we subsidize food weekly because they don't even have enough food to make it through the month, yet alone to pay a hiked up water bill. And it's sad in this society that to overtax underpaid people.
That's right.
That is crazy. When we have a government that would bail out Wall Street, bail out the banks, but would deny people the human right to have water. How can families go to school without having water, not being able to wash clothes, not being able to cook food, not being able to use the bathroom? And we look at Liberia and Africa right now, and they don't have a sewage system. And because of the unsanitary conditions, now Ebola.
Right.
We need help. We need men and women in our government and the people to stand together, and it's our God-given right to have water, and it's accessible. We are surrounded by the Great Lakes. It's not a shortage. We should have affordable water for the people.
That's right.
Flat out. There's no excuse. This is America. So that's why I stand together, and I just Brother Baxter, you are a champion.
Yes.
You are a champion, and I concur again. He said, I don't want you to give me anything, but give me a fair chance. Give me the same opportunity that's afforded to every American. Thank you. Thank you. And we stand with you guys. We stand together as one. Solidarity. It's our God-given right. And it's not for man to take it away. Thank you.
Thank you. Right. Thank you so much.
Water is a human right.
Yes. Okay. All right. We got a mic and an amp over here. Thank you so much, Pastor Ray. We really appreciate you, and we appreciate the work that you're doing in the community. We're gaining in our move to continue understanding that this is a human right. It's very important that that's the message that we send. We understand that today Judge Rose has to listen to testimony that is primarily about numbers, right? And it's about finance, and it's about how we're going to make it to the next debt payment. But to really make the connection today that water is a human right, that this is something that is part of our birthright coming into this planet, and we all need to understand that this is a global problem. This is happening on a global scale. And not just in Detroit, not just in America, not just in Africa and third world countries, but our water supply as a whole is being tapped out. We're using and consuming far more water than is actually being produced. And so all of this plays a huge factor in what's going to be the future of our children. What's going to be her future in the next 20 years. This baby that's on my back. What's going to happen to her? Will she have a faucet to turn in the next 10, 20 years? Will I be talking to her in the next 30 years and telling my grandchildren, well, you know, we used to have this thing called running water. And you used to be able to just go right up to your kitchen spigot and just turn it on. Remember that? Remember those days? That is truly coming. That is what we're facing. What is the future that we're leaving for our children? So we want to pass the mic on to anyone who would like to share some wisdom and share their insight and give information. So I want to pass the mic to a dear activist friend of mine. He's a friend in the activist movement for me. I see him out on the road a lot, and he always has something good to share. So please put your hands together and welcome Hans. Hans, you're with you. He's not sure which organization he's with, but he's definitely with the city and the power and the people in the city of Detroit. That's one thing I can say. He'll show up to whatever's happening. Hans is there. And so we thank you so much. So multi-activist, Hans.
So I was reminded of a comic recently that I saw. There's 3 people sitting at a table, and there's 50 cookies on the table. And one guy takes 49 of the cookies, and he looks at the other 2, and he says, or I'm sorry, he looks at one of the other 2, and he says, "Be careful, that other guy's going to steal your cookie." That is kind of the world we're living in right now. We had an event yesterday evening, at the Grosse Pointe Park, Detroit border, city-suburb border. And I should put border in quotes because it's an imaginary line. These boundaries that we set for ourselves have somehow distorted our views. And too often, and the water issue is one of these issues, where we're pitted against one another unnecessarily. And we point the finger at one another when we should be pointing the finger at these banks. It is no secret that in an already exorbitant, compared to the national average, the water bills in Detroit are quite a lot higher. But those bills that are paid, don't even, half of it is what actually goes to treatment and water service and distribution and everything else. The other half doesn't go to water or workers or anything at all. It goes to banks, it goes to Wall Street, it goes to bondholders. And so we're busy pointing the finger at one another when we should be pointing the finger at them. The total debt, if you, and I question how legitimate it is in the first place, but the amount that residents and businesses in the city of Detroit owe to the water department is supposedly $90 million. The actual entire debt service of the water department, I believe, was $3.8 billion. If everyone paid their bill tomorrow, if everyone's bill was paid tomorrow, it would make no difference. No difference in this huge scheme of debt and ownership of the water. People say it's still a public utility. Well, it seems pretty privatized to me.
Yes, very true.
So this is something the public has to push back against. This is a human right. It is unconscionable to limit and take away access to an abundant resource. We sit at the seat of the Great Lakes. Water is abundant, and it's necessary for all of us to live, rich and poor. You don't have water, you can't live. And that's not just human beings, that's everything. Everything needs water. So this is a very fundamental issue that needs to bring us together. We need to unite around this to push back against the real enemies. The city-suburb divide is historic. It's 90% black and brown in the city of Detroit. It's 90% white, at least in the Grosse Pointe communities. It's affluent in the Grosse Pointe communities in the suburbs. It is impoverished in the city of Detroit. And there's we need to recognize the silliness of it all. The ridiculousness. It does not have to be this way. It does not have to be accepted. And there was a wonderful gathering yesterday at the border of these two communities that recognized this. And I just want to express that same spirit that was expressed there towards unity. It's a cliche, but the people united will never be defeated. If we unite around issues like this, around common needs.
That's right.
Large buildings, large institutions, they can't hold a candle to what we've got. We've got power in unity. So thank you for being here and doing what you're doing. And I'm so proud of Alice Jennings and her team in court right now, arguing on behalf of the people. There's been a lot of work done on the ground that they've been, from a lot of different groups, working together to make the arguments in court and to show how unjust these shutoffs are. And I pray that the judge will do the right thing today. Thank you.
Thank you, Hans.
Moratorium now.